Hello and welcome to our presentation on safeguarding awareness. My name is Max and I am the internal trainer and facilitator here at Advance. Today we will cover our roles and responsibilities in relation to safeguarding, the 6 safeguarding principles, our duty of care, making safeguarding personal, what you should do if you see or suspect abuse or neglect, responding and reporting, the advanced policies and procedures and information that are relevant to safeguarding, and the Public Interest Disclosure Act 1998. Being aware of our vision and values helps us to understand our role and responsibilities. Our pride values should be applied at all times. The Care Act statutory guidance tells us that safeguarding means protecting an adult's right to live in safety, free from abuse and neglect. This is everyone's right, of course. And the Care Act statutory guidance goes on to say safeguarding must recognise that adults sometimes have complex interpersonal relationships and may be unclear or unrealistic about their personal circumstances. Whom at Advance is responsible for safeguarding and when? All Advance employees, casual staff, volunteers, board members, contractors, anyone acting upon Advance's behalf is responsible for safeguarding. And when? At all times. Just a few of our safeguarding responsibilities include promoting human rights and well-being, empowering the people that we support to make their own decisions, to report any concerns that we may have, to report any disclosures that are made to us, to record incidents and accidents, to monitor, to work in partnership with others to keep people safe, and to apply our duty of care. A few things that we can do to stop abuse from happening in the first place include sharing information with the people that we support and those closest to them about abuse and neglect, what it looks like, how to recognise the signs, the indicators, and how to report any concerns. We empower the people that we support to make their own decisions as far as possible so that they can weigh up the risks and the benefits of different options. We also manage the risks, and this involves talking to the individual about what being safe means to them, find out what might make an individual more vulnerable to abuse than others, and then we can agree ways to make these things less likely. We can record this in a risk assessment as part of a support plan. Victims of abuse depend upon others to act upon their behalf to right the wrong. So if you ever see something, say something. You could make the difference to someone's life. We really hope that you never need to report a safeguarding issue at Advance, but we trust and expect that you will, should ever that need arise. There are 6 safeguarding principles that underpin all of the work that we do in relation to safeguarding. Number 1 is empowerment. So this is where This is where individuals are supported and encouraged to make their own decisions as far as possible. Number 2 is prevention. This is where we take action before harm occurs. Prevention is much more effective than cure. Number 3 is proportionality. This basically means not going over the top. So the way we respond to safeguarding incidents is in the least intrusive way possible. Yes, we meet the level of need, but we don't go over the top and, for instance, start infringing upon people's rights. Number 4 is protection. Those in greatest need should be supported and receive protection. So this is where support and representation is and should be provided for those in need. Number 5 is partnership. So we work in partnership with our customers, their families, their communities. We work in partnership with other departments within our organisation. We work in partnership with key agencies to keep people safe. And number 6 is accountability. So safeguarding practice should be transparent. It should be accountable. Who are we accountable to? Surely our customers and their families. As soon as you begin supporting an individual, you have a duty of care to reasonably ensure that they are protected from harm. Your duty of care also extends beyond the individuals that you support to your colleagues and to the wider public. Applying duty of care involves promoting people's rights and well-being, safeguarding, as well as keeping people safe generally from harm, injury. If you are ever concerned about the level of risk someone faces or the risk that the adult faces are increasing, please consult with your manager at advance as soon as possible, as the early identification of risk will often prevent the need for safeguarding. Early intervention, early prevention. Making safeguarding personal. This is very much person-centered safeguarding practice, and it includes promoting the involvement of the adult in our safeguarding process from the earliest point and then throughout. We continue to empower the adult or the adults. We empower them to make their own decisions as far as possible. Again, so that they can weigh up the risks and benefits of different options. We want to hear about what they want following any incident. And whatever it is that an adult wants following a safeguarding incident will be known as a desired outcome. We will work closely with the adult and support them to achieve their desired outcomes. We always use the Mental Capacity Act principles to support best practice, and we continue empowering our customers. We continue empowering the adult. We continue to encourage them to take positive risks and to take worthwhile chances. In 2013, Lord Justice Mumby said the following about safeguarding. What good is it making someone safer if it merely makes them miserable? None at all. And this quote really does highlight the importance of making safeguarding personal. It highlights the importance of finding out what it is an individual wants following any incident and then working closely with them to achieve their desired outcome. The Care Act and the Care Act statutory guidance does not define abuse as such. But what it does do is provide us with a list of types of abuse. The Care Act, the Care Act statutory guidance, informs us that we should not feel constrained by this list, as abuse can take many forms and it must be assessed on a case-by-case basis. So physical, psychological, or emotional, sexual, financial and material, discriminatory, organisational or institutional, neglect and acts of omission, self-neglect, domestic, modern slavery are all types of abuse. If you see or suspect abuse or neglect, make sure the adult is safe. Of course, ensure your own safety and that of others. Don't investigate. This happens later. Call the emergency services, if applicable, if you need them. Call 999 in an emergency. If a crime has been committed, preserve evidence. Do not try to clean or tidy, as you will potentially be destroying evidence. Do not touch anything unless you have to for the immediate well-being and safety of you and the victim. Never put yourselves in harm's way, but try and ensure the alleged perpetrator has no contact with the victim. If any sexual offence is suspected, we must try to discourage the victim from washing, drinking, eating, cleaning their teeth, or going to the toilet until the police are present. Of course, as soon as possible, as soon as it's safe to do so, tell your manager at advance. If you are working out of hours, this is outside of the hours of 9 till 5 in the daytime, you will report any serious concerns to the advance on-call service as soon as possible. When it's safe to do so, document what has happened, so complete an incident report form. The severity will be serious, which means it needs to be back with your manager within 24 hours of us becoming aware of the serious incident. So please do pass incident reports back to your manager at advance as soon as possible, and definitely within 24 hours. Do complete a body map, if applicable. Both incident reports and body maps can be printed off for you. Your managers at advance can provide you with both incident reports and body maps. Do record any signs or other issues that could be explained by abuse in the individual's daily records. Share what you've noticed with your colleagues on shift or at shift handover, if it's safe to do so. You can seek advice. Our body maps, as I say, can be printed off for you, as well as the incident report forms and the body maps. They must be marked accurately to identify the location of scratches, scars, soreness, bruises, or any unusual marks on a person. Please provide as much detail as possible, including the size, shape, and colour of bruises that you see on a person. If you have not got one of our body maps and you need one, you can create your own body map. You can draw your own. You do not necessarily have to be great at art to do this. But again, you will have to ensure that it's as detailed as possible, being clear about what it is you've seen and where. And then if you have drawn your own body map, then please provide your name, the time it was completed, the date it was completed, your signature, and the names of other witnesses. On our body maps, these fields are in the top right-hand corner, and again, these must be completed. You then hand your body map and your completed incident report form over to your manager at Advance as soon as possible, ensuring that we meet the deadline of 24 hours. If you are responding to a disclosure, well, if it's safe for the adult to talk to you, listen to them, allow them to speak freely. You can ask open questions. This is where you allow someone to open up about what has happened and how it is they are feeling, how it is they have felt. You can ask closed questions, and these are questions in which you require a yes or a no answer, just so you can be clear around certain details. But what we don't do is ask leading questions. Leading questions look as if you are prompting someone with an answer. It looks as if we are putting words into people's mouths. So ask open questions, ask closed questions, but do not ask leading questions. Do stay calm, try not to show any shock or disbelief. Reassure them and ask what it is that they would like to happen in relation to the risks that they face. Make no promises. For example, this will be kept a secret because we will be obliged to inform our managers of any concerns that we have or any disclosures that are made to us. Often, people may not realise that they are being abused and may not be aware of the significance of what it is that they are disclosing. Some disclosures may happen after many years. There may be good reason for this. Any delay in reporting or disclosing by an abused person should not cast doubt on their truthfulness. Advance staff are expected to take all allegations seriously, however insignificant they may initially seem. Do start by looking at any emergency response required. Is the person safe? Do they need urgent help or support? Do they live with the alleged abuser? Or is the abuser likely to return? If risks are very high, contact your manager at Advance as soon as possible, as well as the emergency services. It is an obligation of ours to inform our managers at Advance of any concerns that we have. We must inform them of any disclosures that are made to us. We are open and transparent about this, and we inform our customers who it is we'll be informing, when we'll be informing them, and why we are informing them. However, should an individual not give you their consent to the sharing of safeguarding information, well, this is where we sit down with the adult and explore the reasons as to why they do not want you to share this information. What exactly is it that they are worried about? Here, perhaps, we can alleviate their fears or any anxieties that they have. We can explain to the individual in a way that they are most likely to understand why it is just so important to share the information. It's important to share the information so the abuse can stop. We explain who you may be sharing the information with and why. So this will be your manager, who you are sharing the information with. Why? Because your manager will want to get involved and help in some way. Explain the benefits to them or others of sharing this information. Again, for example, the abuse will stop or the neglect will stop. Explain what could happen if they do not share the information. For example, other people could be harmed. Explain that the information will not be shared with anyone who does not need to know. Safeguarding practice is a confidential process. And we can explain the support that will be available to them. However, should an individual still not give their consent to the sharing of safeguarding information, we are obliged, we must inform our managers at advance as soon as possible. If you felt that an adult would be at immediate risk as a result of you informing them, that you would be informing your manager at advance about your concerns, then in these cases, it is absolutely fine for you to go straight to your manager at advance with your concerns without going to the adult first. So what happens following a safeguarding incident? The support manager or the housing officer will check what actions have already been taken and take any action needed to keep people safe. They will ensure that the individual at risk has the support that they need to communicate. They will ask the individual at risk what it is that they would like to happen next, or their representative if they themselves do not have capacity. Again, this is making safeguarding personal. The support manager or housing officer will tell the individual at risk who the concern will be reported to, why and when. It may be necessary for this incident or concern to be raised externally with a relevant local authority. So the support manager or housing officer will check with them that we have the consent to do this. The support manager or housing officer will report what has happened to the operations manager, and the operations manager in turn will report what has happened to the head of operations and or the head of tenancy and leasehold management. It will be the operations manager or the senior housing officer at advance that decides whether a safeguarding referral needs to be made to a local authority. A safeguarding referral must be made to the local authority when an individual has care and support needs, even if they are not supported with these needs, and they may be experiencing or at the risk of abuse and neglect, and they are unable to protect themselves from abuse and neglect because of those care and support needs. So if an adult meets that threshold, a safeguarding referral must be made to the local authority. And it's the operations manager at Advance or the senior housing officer at Advance that decides whether a safeguarding referral needs to be made. Our reporting process, with an emphasis on reporting a serious incident or an accident. Number one, ensure the person is safe. Do ensure your own safety and that of others, of course. Do call 999 in an emergency. Number two, inform your line manager at Advance or the Advance on-call service as soon as possible. Number three, complete your incident report form. Send it to your manager. It's always a good rule of thumb to complete these incident report forms and to send them to the relevant people as soon as possible. But the timescale that we must adhere to here is 24 hours. And number four, your manager at Advance will complete any necessary follow-up actions. Any incident will later involve a review of support plans and risk assessments. It is very good practice for us to bring to your attention the dangers that children also face. It is actually a care quality commission for me to say the following to you. If in your working lives or your daily lives you suspect a young person or a child is a victim of abuse or neglect in any form, you have an obligation to report your concern to the correct authorities. Perhaps this will be the police, as soon as possible. Should you ever suspect child abuse, call the police. If possible, keep the child safe. Do not ask any questions to get more details from a disclosure. Only ask a child to repeat themselves if you have not heard what they have said to you initially. Do remember the information that is being told to you. Perhaps you can record it word for word so that we can pass this information on to the police when they attend the scene. And the NSPCC says that safeguarding is the action that is taken to promote the welfare of children and protect them from harm. Safeguarding children means protecting children from abuse and maltreatment, preventing harm to children's health or development, ensuring that children grow up with the provision of safe and effective care, and taking action to enable all children and young people to have the best outcomes. Here we look at the policies that we keep at Advance that are relevant to safeguarding. We have got a safeguarding adults at risk policy and procedure. We've got a safeguarding children and young people policy. We have a sexuality and personal relationships policy, a mental capacity, including deprivation of liberty safeguards policy, a risk assessments policy, an incident and accident reporting policy, a whistleblowing policy, as well as a duty of candour policy. Our duty of candour is to be open, honest and transparent about the work that we do, especially when we are to make mistakes. If we are to make mistakes, at any time, it is vitally important that we are candid about the mistakes that we have made. The Public Interest Disclosure Act 1998 is legislation that protects workers who blow the whistle about unlawful activities. Blowing the whistle means speaking out, letting someone know what it is that you suspect or what it is that you've witnessed. It will apply where a worker has a reasonable belief that their disclosure tends to show one or more of the following offences or breaches: a criminal offence, the breach of a legal obligation, a miscarriage of justice, a danger to the health and safety of any individual, damage to the environment, and or deliberately covering up of information. So should one ever suspect one or more of those offences or breaches, it would warrant speaking out and letting someone know. And this process is called whistleblowing. It is something that Advance takes really seriously. We have a whistleblowing policy and procedure. We have got a whistleblowing panel that can look into all whistleblowing reports. Every single report that is raised will be investigated. And if anyone ever tries to stop you at Advance from whistleblowing, or if you are victimised at Advance for whistleblowing, then this is a disciplinary offence, and we do take a zero tolerance approach to this kind of behaviour. If you have or should you have any concerns around whistleblowing, either now or in the future, you are encouraged to speak to the Employment Advisory Service. They can offer you independent, impartial, confidential advice and guidance. To whistleblow, please contact the following: Human Resources Customer Contact Centre on the email provided, or telephone our I'm Not Proud line on the telephone number provided. Is it ever okay for us to report serious concerns outside the organisation? The Public Interest Disclosure Act 1998 tells us yes. However, you should only do this if you think your employer will cover it up, would treat you unfairly if you were to complain, and or hasn't sorted it out despite you already telling them. And if that's the case, you have every right to report your serious concerns outside of the organisation and to a prescribed whistleblowing body. How do you safeguard adults at risk? By providing high quality social care, of course. Empowerment is such a key feature of safeguarding. But safeguarding must also include the intervention stage and also the final stage, where hopefully someone is moving from safeguarding provision back into mainstream support. Should you have any questions or thoughts around the information within this presentation today, please speak to your manager at Advance, who will be very happy to answer any questions that you may have. And the focus of today has been to raise your awareness of safeguarding, but at the heart of all that we have discussed is one very simple statement. If you see something, say something. You could make all the difference to someone's life. So stay vigilant, everyone, and report any concerns that you may have. Thank you for your time today. Thank you for listening. Bye.